Last time on Quiet Night, a merchant sat waiting by a desert spring for a genie to come and take his life. He had made a promise, and he kept it. 3 strangers appeared from nowhere and sat beside him. A man with a deer, a man with 2 black dogs, and a third. When the genie arrived, sword drawn and ready, the first old man stepped forward. He had a story to tell, and the genie agreed to listen. This is what he said. "The hind you see beside me, that is my wife. We were married for many years, a comfortable life, a good home, but we had no children of our own. In my household there was a slave woman I cared deeply for. She had a son, a bright, lively boy, and I decided to raise him as my heir, to give him everything I would have given a son of my own blood." My wife smiled and said nothing. What I did not know, what I could not have known, was that behind that smile lived a hatred she had been feeding quietly for years. A hatred of the boy, a hatred of his mother, a hatred of everything they represented to her. She was patient. She waited. And while she waited, she studied. When the boy was around 10 years old, I had to leave on a long journey. I trusted my wife to look after them while I was gone. That was my mistake. While I was away, she spent the entire year studying magic. Ancient, dangerous, patient magic. The kind that takes time to learn and longer to forget. And when she knew enough, she acted. She transformed the boy into a calf, handed him off to the household steward with a simple story about a new animal she had purchased. Then she transformed his mother, that gentle woman who had never wronged anyone, into a cow and sent her the same way. When I returned home and asked after them, my wife met my eyes without flinching. The slave woman had died, she told me. And the boy had simply vanished months ago. Gone. No trace. I grieved. I held on to hope that my son would turn up somewhere. He never did, or so I believed. Then came the Feast of Bedtime. I ordered my steward to bring a fat cow for the sacrifice. The animal that arrived was, without anyone knowing it, the mother of my son. I tied her, I raised the blade, and she began to cry, real tears streaming down her face, with the most pitiful sounds I had ever heard from any living creature. I put the blade down. I could not do it. Something in those eyes, something I could not name or explain, stopped my hand completely. I ordered the steward to take her away and bring me something else. My wife stood watching all of this. "Kill the cow," she said, cold and flat. "It is the best one we have." I tried again. The animal wept again. I handed her back to the steward. He slaughtered her without knowing what she was. The cow was gone. The mother was gone. That part of the story had no happy ending. But the story was not finished. The next morning, I asked for a calf instead. The steward brought one, plump, healthy, seemingly ordinary. But as soon as it saw me, it strained at its rope with everything it had, and then it threw itself at my feet, pressed its head to the ground, as if it was begging, as if it recognized me, as if it was trying to tell me something that no animal should be able to say. I stood there for a long time. Something in me recognized a grief that no animal should carry. I refused to sacrifice it. My wife raged at me, louder this time, more insistent than before. But this time I did not move. I did not know why. I only knew that I could not raise that blade. That evening, the steward came to me quietly. He had something to tell me. His daughter, he explained, had a gift for magic. When she saw the calf being led back to the stable that morning, she had laughed, and then immediately burst into tears. Her father had never seen her do both at once. He asked her why. She told him the truth. The calf was my missing son. The cow slaughtered the day before had been his mother. My wife had done it all, years ago, while I was away. With patience and precision and a hatred she had hidden from me for the entirety of our marriage, I rushed to find this girl. Her name was Layla. I looked at the calf and I saw, finally, what I should have seen all along. The recognition in its eyes. The grief no animal should carry. I asked Layla if she could undo what had been done. She could. But she had two conditions. Layla looked at me steadily and named her price. First, the boy would become her husband when he was restored. Second, she would be allowed to deal with my wife as she saw fit.
I agree to both, but I ask only one thing in return. Spare her life. Whatever you do to her, spare her life.
Layla nodded. She took a bowl of water. She spoke words over it. Quiet words I could not follow. Ancient words that felt older than the room we were standing in. And she poured the water over the calf. The animal shook, and where it had stood, a young man rose, my son, standing in front of me, looking at me with eyes I had last seen when he was 10 years old. We held each other for a long time. I do not have words for that moment. Some things are beyond words. That was one of them. True to her word, Layla found my wife, and she transformed her. I had asked only that she be spared her life. Layla honored that completely. The form she chose, I chose, was the hind you see beside me now. Strange, but not monstrous. I could still look at her. I could still keep her close. Whatever she had done, she was still my wife. And some part of me, the part that remembered what we had before the hatred took over, was not ready to let go of her entirely. So I kept her. The hind walks where I walk. She sleeps where I sleep. I do not know what she understands or remembers. I do not know if there is still a person somewhere inside that animal looking out. I choose to believe there is, and I choose to be kind to her anyway. My son married Layla, gladly, gratefully. He loved her from the moment she gave him back his life. But fate was not finished with them. Layla died young. Reasons that made no sense, the way the deaths of good people rarely do. She was there, and then she was gone. And my son, who had already lost so much, found that he could not stay in a place so full of her memory. So he left, to travel the world, to find whatever it is a young man looks for when grief has taken everything familiar from him. I do not blame him, but I am his father, and I am not willing to stop looking for him. So I walk, with my enchanted wife beside me, because I am not willing to leave her with strangers either. I walk the roads and the deserts and the spaces between cities, hoping that one day I will turn a corner and find him standing there. That is why I am here. That is why I sat down beside a dying merchant I had never met and chose to wait with him. I recognized his grief. It looked a great deal like mine. The old man finished his story. The desert was quiet. The genie stood still for a long moment, this creature of fury and grief who had come to take a life. and considered what he had just heard. Then he nodded. 1/3 of the merchant's punishment forgiven. The first old man stepped back. The merchant exhaled for what felt like the first time in a year. But they were not finished. 2/3 remained, and there were 2 more old men still waiting. The second old man, the one with the 2 black dogs, rose to his feet. He looked up at the genie with the same quiet steadiness the first old man had shown. "Now hear my story," he said, "the story of me and these 2 animals. If you find it more extraordinary than what you have already heard, spare him another 1/3. The genie looked at the dogs, then back at the man. "Tell it," he said. And so the second old man began.